The dropship was falling. Kong Doan held tight to his seat as fire and smoke filled the cabin. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. The pilot was already dead, hit by enemy fire that tore through the front window. "Brace for impact!" someone shouted. Do-hun closed his eyes. He thought about his mother back on Earth. He thought about his little sister who wanted to be a doctor. He thought about the war that had taken everything from him. Then the ship hit the ground. When Doan opened his eyes, he was alone. The cabin was destroyed. Bodies of his fellow soldiers lay around him, but none of them moved. He checked each one, hoping to find someone alive. There was no one. He was the only survivor. Doan pulled himself out of the wreckage. His leg was hurt and his arm was bleeding, but he could walk. That was enough. He looked around and saw a jungle stretching in every direction. The sky was purple, and 2 moons hung above him. This was Velar 7, planet caught between the human Terran Federation and the alien Kelvari Empire. The war had been going on for 30 years. Doan was born into it. He had been fighting since he was 18 years old. Now he was 32 and he was tired. So very tired, he grabbed what supplies he could find from the crash. A rifle, some food packs, a medical kit. His communication device was broken. No way to call for help. I need to find shelter, he said to himself. He started walking through the jungle. The plants here were strange. Some glowed with soft blue light. Others moved on their own, reaching toward him like curious hands. Doan kept his rifle ready. He knew this planet had dangerous creatures. After walking for 2 hours, he found ruins. An old temple made of black stone stood in a clearing. The building was ancient, maybe thousands of years old. Doan did not know who built it, and he did not care. It would give him shelter for the night. He walked inside carefully. The temple was dark and quiet. Dust covered everything. He found a corner and sat down to rest his injured leg. That was when he heard the footsteps. Doan raised his rifle. Someone was in the temple with him. He moved silently through the shadows, following the sound. He came around a corner and saw a figure standing near a broken window. It was a Kelvari. The alien turned and saw him. She was female, with violet skin that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. Her eyes were silver, like liquid metal. She wore expensive clothes, now torn and dirty. In her hands, she held a small energy pistol. They pointed their weapons at each other. "Human," she said. Her voice was cold. Kelvari, Doan replied. His finger rested on the trigger. They stood there for a long moment. Neither one moved. Doan studied the alien woman. She was injured too. He could see blood on her arm, purple blood instead of red. She looked scared, though she tried to hide it. "Your ship crashed," Doan said. It was not a question. He had seen another column of smoke in the distance earlier. The Kelvari woman nodded slowly. "Sabotage. Someone wanted me dead? Your own people?" "Yes." This surprised Doan. The Kelvari were supposed to be united against humanity. That was what everyone said. But here was one of their own, hunted by her kind. Before either of them could speak again, sounds came from outside. Voices speaking the Kelvari language. The woman's eyes went wide with fear. "They found me," she whispered. Doan looked at her. He should let them take her. She was the enemy. This was not his problem, but something in her eyes stopped him. He had seen that look before. It was the look of someone who expected to die. "How many?" he asked. "What? How many are hunting you?" She paused, confused by his question. 6, maybe 8.
Oh.
Nodded. He moved to the window and looked outside. He counted 7 Kelvari soldiers moving toward the temple. They carried weapons and moved like trained killers. "Stay behind me," Doan said. "Why are you helping me?" The woman asked. "I don't know yet." The soldiers entered the temple. Doan was waiting for them. The fight was fast and brutal. Doan had been a soldier for 14 years. He knew how to kill. He took down 3 of them before they even knew he was there. The others fired back, but he moved through the shadows like a ghost. The Kelvari woman helped, shooting 2 of them with her pistol. When it was over, 7 bodies lay on the temple floor. Doan was breathing hard. A new wound burned on his shoulder where an energy blast had grazed him. The woman stared at him with wide eyes. "You fight like a demon," she said. "I fight like a human," he replied. She almost smiled at that. "Almost. I'm Yuna," she said. "Princess Yuna of House Kelvari." Doan stared at her. A princess. He had just saved a princess of the enemy empire. His commanders would have him executed for this. "I am Sergeant Kong Doan," he said. "Terran Federation." "Thank you for saving my life, Sergeant." "Don't thank me yet. More will come," Yuna nodded. She looked at the dead soldiers, and her face became sad. "They were sent by people in my own court. People who want the war to continue." "Why?" "Because I was trying to end it. I was traveling to meet with humans who want peace. Secret talks. My father does not know." She looked at Doan with those strange silver eyes. "The war has gone on too long. Too many have died. I wanted to stop it." Doan did not know what to say. For 30 years, humans had believed the Kelvari wanted nothing but war. They were monsters. That was what everyone said. But this woman, this princess, wanted peace. "We need to move," Doan said finally. "They will send more soldiers when these ones don't report back." "Where will we go?" "There is a neutral settlement 3 days' walk from here. We can find transport there." Yuna looked at him carefully. "You would travel with me?" "A Kelvari." Doan picked up his rifle and checked how much ammunition he had left. "How much?" He looked at the princess, covered in dirt and blood, far from her palace and her people. "I'm tired of this war," he said. "If you really want to end it, then maybe helping you is the best thing I can do." They left the temple together, walking into the dark jungle. Behind them, the ruins sat silent under the purple sky. Neither of them knew what waited ahead. But for the first time in years, Doan felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The jungle of Velar 7 was not kind to travelers. Doan learned this quickly as he and Princess Yuna pushed through thick plants and crossed muddy rivers. Everything here wanted to hurt them. The insects bit through their clothes. The plants had thorns that cut like knives. And somewhere in the darkness, large creatures watched them with hungry eyes. They walked for hours without speaking. Doan stayed in front, cutting a path with his knife. Yuna followed behind, struggling to keep up. She was not used to this kind of travel. In her palace, servants carried her in soft chairs. Here, she had only her own 2 feet. "We need to rest," Doan said when the second sun began to set. Yuna did not argue. She sat down on a fallen tree and breathed hard. Her expensive shoes were ruined. Her beautiful clothes were torn. She looked nothing like a princess now. "You are not used to walking," Doan said. "Is it that obvious?" Yuna replied with tired eyes. Doan almost smiled. "Almost. We'll camp here tonight. I will show you how to make a fire." Yuna watched as Doan gathered dry wood and leaves. He arranged them carefully, then used a small tool from his kit to create a spark. The fire came to life, warm and orange against the purple darkness. "Your people do not have servants in the military?" Yuna asked. "No. Every soldier learns to survive alone." "That seems harsh." Doan sat down across from her. The firelight danced on his face, showing the scars he had collected over 14 years of war. "War is harsh. If you cannot take care of yourself, you die." Yuna looked at her own hands. They were soft and smooth, the hands of someone who had never worked. "My people believe humans are brutal savages. They say you fight like animals and care nothing for honor." "Oh. What do you think?" Yuna met his eyes. "I think you saved my life when you had no reason to." That does not seem like something a savage would do. They ate from Doan's food packs in silence. The rations were not good, but Yuna did not complain. She was learning already. "Tell me about Earth," she said suddenly. Doan was surprised by the question. No one had asked him about home in a very long time. "It is beautiful," he said slowly. "We have blue skies and green forests, great oceans that stretch forever, cities that touch the clouds. It sounds peaceful." It was. Before the war, Yuna looked sad. "My home world was peaceful once too. The Kelvari used to be artists and poets. We built great towers of crystal and sang songs to the stars. Then the war came, and everything changed. Why did the war start? Doan asked. He realized he did not actually know. It had begun before he was born. Everyone just accepted it as part of life. Territory, Yuna said. Resources. Pride. The same reasons all wars start. But it has gone on so long now that most people have forgotten the original cause. They only know hatred. A sound came from the jungle. Something large moving through the trees. Doan grabbed his rifle and stood up. He peered into the darkness but saw nothing. What is it? Yuna whispered. I don't know. Stay close to the fire. The sound came again, closer this time. Then Doan saw eyes. Yellow eyes, glowing in the darkness. Many of them, Velar wolves, Yuna said, her voice shaking. Pack hunters. Very dangerous. The creatures emerged from the shadows. They were like wolves, but larger, with scales instead of fur and too many teeth. There were 8 of them, circling the camp slowly. Doan aimed his rifle. When I start shooting, run for that large tree. Climb as high as you can. I cannot climb, Yuna said. Then learn fast. The wolves attacked. Doan fired, taking down the first one, then the second. But they were too fast and too many. One leaped at Yuna. She screamed and fell backward. Doan spun and shot the creature in midair. It crashed to the ground beside her. Go, he shouted. Now. Yuna ran toward the tree. A wolf chased her, snapping at her legs. Doan shot it, but another took its place. He was out of ammunition. He pulled his knife and stabbed the beast as it jumped at him. Its claws tore across his chest. Yuna reached the tree and tried to climb. Her soft hands could not grip the bark. She slipped and fell. A wolf was coming for her, its mouth open wide. Then something strange happened. Yuna raised her hand and a wave of energy burst from her palm. The wolf flew backward and hit a tree with a loud crack. Doan finished the last wolf and turned to stare at Yuna. What was that? Yuna looked at her own hand, breathing hard. I do not know. I've never done that before. The royal bloodline carries certain gifts. I thought mine was only empathy. Empathy. When I touch someone, I can feel what they feel. Their emotions become mine. She looked at Doan. When you saved me in the temple, I touched your hand by accident. I felt your grief. It was like an ocean of sadness. Doan said nothing. He sat down heavily. The wound on his chest was bleeding badly. You are hurt, Yuna said. She came to him quickly. Let me help. I'm fine. You are not fine. You were bleeding. She took the medical kit from his pack and began cleaning the wound. Her hands were gentle, despite their shaking. Doan watched her work. A Kelvari princess treating a human soldier's wounds. A year ago, he would have laughed at the idea. Now it seems like the most natural thing in the world. Could have left me, he said quietly. When the wolves attacked, you could have run and saved yourself. You would not have left me, Yuna replied without looking up. How do you know? Now she looked at him. Her silver eyes were soft in the firelight. Because I felt who you are, Kongdoan. You are tired and sad and full of grief. But underneath all that darkness, you are good. You protect people. It is who you are. Doan did not know what to say. No one had called him good in a very long time. Yuna finished wrapping his wound. There, it will heal. Thank you. She sat beside him by the fire. The dead wolves lay around them, but neither looked at them. They had survived together. That meant something, Doan Yuna said. If we reach the settlement, what then? Your people will arrest me. My people will kill me, and we don't go to either side. We find another way. You would give up everything? Your military, your home? Doan thought about Earth. He thought about the war that had consumed his whole life. He thought about the friends he had watched die and the enemies he had killed. What did any of it mean? I want the war to end, he said finally. If helping you is how that happens, then I have nothing to give up. The war already took everything from me. Yuna reached out and took his hand. Through her touch, she felt his truth. He meant every word. Hey. Then we do this together, she said. The fire crackled between them. Above, the two moons crossed paths in the purple sky. Tomorrow, they would reach the settlement. Tomorrow, they would learn that nothing was as simple as they hoped. But tonight, they rested. A human and an alien. Side by side. The galaxy had never seen anything like them. The settlement was destroyed. Doan and Yuna stood at the edge of what had once been a small town. Now, it was nothing but burned buildings and broken bodies. Smoke still rose from some of the ruins. The attack had happened recently. Who did this? Yuna whispered. Duhan walked through the wreckage, studying the damage. He found spent ammunition on the ground. Some of it was human. Some of it was Kelvari. His face became dark. Both sides, he said. Humans and Kelvari attacked together. That is impossible. Our people are at war. Look for yourself. Yuna examined the evidence. Doan was right. The marks of battle showed weapons from both sides. Human bullets and Kelvari energy blasts had torn through these buildings at the same time. This was a neutral settlement, Yuna said. They helped refugees from both sides. Why would anyone destroy it? Doan found something in the rubble. A piece of metal with a strange symbol on it. A circle with a fist inside. He had never seen it before, but something about it made his blood cold. Someone wanted to make sure we could not get help here, he said. Someone knew we were coming. They'd buried what bodies they could find. It took most of the day. When they finished, both of them were covered in ash and sorrow. We need transport off this planet, Doan said. The nearest port is on the other side of the continent. Too far to walk. I may know someone who can help, Yuna said slowly. My cousin Taiwu. He has connections on Nexus Prime, the trading station. If we can reach him, he might give us passage. Can you trust him? Yuna hesitated. He is family. That was not a yes. But they had no other options. Using parts from the destroyed settlement, Doan managed to repair a small communication device. Yuna sent a coded message to her cousin. The reply came within an hour. Taiwu would send a ship to collect them. 2 days later, they were on Nexus Prime. The station was massive, a city floating in space where anyone could trade anything. Laws were suggestions here. Credits were king. Humans, Kelvari, and dozens of other species walked the crowded streets together. Here, at least, there was no war. Taiwu met them in a private room at an expensive hotel. He was tall for a Kelvari, with darker violet skin than Yuna. His smile was wide, but his eyes were cold. Cousin, he said, embracing Yuna. I feared you were dead. I nearly was, Yuna replied. The ship was sabotaged. Terrible. Simply terrible. Taiwu looked at Doan with poorly hidden disgust. And you travel with a human now? He saved my life. Multiple times. How unusual. Doan did not trust this Kelvari. Something about him felt wrong, but he kept his thoughts to himself. We need your help, Taiwu, Yuna said. I was traveling to meet with human peace advocates when I was attacked. Someone in our court wants the war to continue badly enough to kill me. Taiwu's face showed surprise, but Doan noticed it came a moment too late. Like an actor who missed his line. That is a serious accusation, Taiwu said. Do you know who? Not yet, but I intend to find out. You should rest first. I have arranged rooms for you here. We can discuss this more tomorrow. That night, Doan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the destroyed settlement, about the symbol on that piece of metal, about the way Taiwu's smile never reached his eyes. He got up and went walking through the station. He needed information. In a dark bar in the lower levels, he found it. An old human woman with mechanical eyes and scars covering her face. She sold information to anyone with credits. The circle with a fist, she said when Doan described the symbol. That's the Iron Circle. Bad people. Very bad. Who are they? Shadow Council. Humans and Kelvari working together. War profiteers. Weapons dealers. Power brokers. They make money from the war. Lots and lots of money. What cold? Are you saying people from both sides are working together to keep the war going? not just keep it going. They start new battles. They arrange assassinations. They make sure peace never happens. The old woman leaned closer. Anyone who tries to stop the war has a habit of dying. Like those peace advocates your princess was going to meet. Dead. All of them. Killed 2 weeks ago. Doan's blood went cold. The princess doesn't know that.
How?
Maybe someone should tell her. Before she ends up like them. Ahun ran back to the hotel. He burst into Yuna's room, but she was gone. On the bed, he found a note. Taiwu wants to show me something. Will return soon. Yuna, he knew. Somehow he knew before he even started searching. He found them in an abandoned warehouse in the station's industrial section. Yuna was surrounded by soldiers, both human and Kelvari, working together. Taiwu stood before her, that cold smile finally matching his cold eyes. Cousin, Yuna said, her voice breaking. Why? Because the war has made our family rich and powerful, Taiwu replied. Because peace would ruin everything we have built. You were always too soft, Yuna, too full of dreams. The Iron Circle cannot allow dreamers to live. You would kill your own blood. I would kill anyone who threatens our interests. Taiwu raised his hand, ready to give the order. Then Doan crashed through the window. He hit the ground rolling and came up firing. 3 soldiers fell before anyone could react. Chaos erupted. Soldiers shot at Doan, but he was already moving. Sliding between crates and machinery like water through stones, Yuna used her new power. The energy burst she had discovered fighting the wolves. A wave of force threw back the soldiers nearest to her. She ran toward Doan. Taiwu screamed orders, but his soldiers were dying. Doan fought with a fury born of rage and purpose. These people had killed innocents. They had burned settlements. They had kept a war going for 30 years just for profit. A new figure joined the fight. A human woman with short hair and military training. She shot 2 soldiers from behind and grabbed Yuna's arm.
What?
Come with me, she shouted. Who are you? Yuna demanded. Lieutenant Jian Park. Terran Intelligence. I was sent to capture you, but I think I've changed my mind. They fought their way out of the warehouse. Taiwu escaped in the confusion, but his soldiers did not. When it was over, Dohan, Yuna, and Jian stood in an alley, breathing hard. You were sent to capture me. Yuna asked Jian, you're officially listed as a hostage. The sergeant here is labeled a traitor and deserter. Where Jian looked at Doan. But I've seen the evidence. The Iron Circle is real. Everything we've been told about this war is a lie. What evidence? Doan asked. Bank records, communications. Proof that people on both sides have been working together to keep the fighting going. Gaian's face was hard with anger. My brother died in this war. He died for nothing. For profit margins. Una touched Jian's arm, feeling her grief through that touch. I am sorry. Don't be sorry. Help me stop them. Dohan looked at both women. A human soldier, a Kelvari princess, a human intelligence officer, an unlikely team. We need to show the galaxy the truth, he said. We need proof that cannot be denied. I know someone who has it, Yuna said. Elder Sunho. He was a general who spoke against the war. They forced him into exile. If anyone has evidence strong enough, it's him. Then we find him, Doan said. Gian nodded. I know a smuggler with a fast ship. Owes me a favor. We leave tonight. As they moved through the station's shadows, Doan felt something changing. They were no longer just survivors. They were fighters. They had a mission now. The Iron Circle had made a mistake. They had let their enemies live, and those enemies were coming for them. The ship was called the Silver Ghost. It was old and ugly but fast. Captain Hayami, its owner, was a human woman with gray hair and hard eyes. She had lost her husband and son to the war. Now she smuggled goods between stars and trusted no one. So let me understand, Hayami said, as she flew them away from Nexus Prime. You want me to take you across the galaxy while both governments hunt for you? And you cannot pay me. We'll pay you when we can, Gian said. If we live, Doan added. Hayami laughed, but there was no joy in it. I must be crazy. But I want this war to end more than I want credits. My family is gone. Many families are gone. If you can really stop the fighting, then I will fly you anywhere. They traveled for weeks. The Iron Circle was everywhere, and they had to move carefully. Every station was dangerous. Every planet might have spies watching. During the long hours in space, Doan and Yuna grew closer. They talked about their lives before the war. Yuna told him about the gardens in her palace, where flowers from 100 worlds bloomed together. Doan told her about his mother's cooking and the way his sister laughed at his jokes. Do you think you will ever see them again? Yuna asked. I don't know, Doan admitted. I am a wanted man now. Even if the war ends, I might spend my life in prison. Then we must make sure the war ends properly, with full amnesty for those who helped stop it. Doan smiled at her. It was still strange, smiling at a Kelvari. But Yuna was not just a Kelvari anymore. She was something else, something more. One night, when the ship was quiet and the others were sleeping, Yuna found Doan sitting alone in the cargo hold. He was cleaning his rifle, a ritual he performed every night. I sit with you, she asked. Of course. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. Her violet skin seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. What will you do when the war ends? She asked. Duhan stopped cleaning his rifle. He stared at the wall. I never thought I would live to see it end. I expected to die in some battle somewhere, forgotten and alone. That is very sad. It's just reality. Soldiers don't make plans for the future. Yuna took his hand. Through her empathic touch, she felt the depth of his loneliness. The years of pain, the loss of friends, and hope and dreams. But underneath all of that, she felt something else. Something warm. You feel something for me? She said quietly. Doan did not deny it. It's strange. A month ago, I would have shot you without thinking. Now, I cannot imagine a universe without you in it. The universe is strange, Yuna agreed. It brings enemies together and makes them friends. Perhaps more than friends. She leaned her head against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, two people from worlds that hated each other, finding peace in each other's presence. Finally, they reached the moon where Elder Sunho lived. It was a cold place with no name, just a number and star maps. The perfect place to hide. Sunho was old, even by Kelvari standards. His violet skin had faded to almost gray. But his mind was still sharp, and his eyes burned with anger when he heard their story. The Iron Circle, he said, speaking the name like a curse. I have been gathering evidence against them for 20 years. They destroyed my career when I spoke out against the war. They killed my wife when I did not stay silent. You have proof? Gion asked. I have proof. Sunho led them to a hidden room in his small house. Inside were hundreds of data files. Records of secret meetings, bank transfers, orders for assassinations, plans for false flag attacks that would blame one side for the other's crimes. This is everything, Doan said, amazed. This is enough to end the Iron Circle forever, Sunho agreed. But getting this information to the right people will be dangerous. The Galactic Concord is the only body neutral enough to act on it. You must take these files to them. We will, Yuna promised. Then the alarms started. Ships appeared in the sky above the moon. Iron Circle ships. They had been followed. Go, Sunho shouted. Take the files and go. I will hold them off. You cannot fight them alone, Yuna said. I am old, princess. I was ready to die years ago. Let me die for something that matters. He picked up an old rifle that hung on his wall. This is my purpose. Yours is to survive and show the galaxy the truth. There was no time to argue. Doan grabbed the data files. Gion led them toward the Silver Ghost. Behind them, they heard the sounds of battle beginning. They ran through the snow as enemy soldiers landed around them. Hayami had the ship ready, engines already warming. They scrambled aboard and lifted off just as energy blasts hit the ground where they had been standing. Through the window, Yuna watched Sunho's house disappear behind them. A moment later, she saw a flash of light. An explosion. Then nothing. He's gone, she said quietly. His sacrifice will mean something, Dohan promised. We will make it mean something. They fled into space, the Iron Circle ships chasing them. Hayami flew like a demon, diving through asteroid fields and using every trick she knew. The Silver Ghost lived up to its name, slipping away from their pursuers like smoke through fingers. But they could not run forever. We need to reach the Galactic Concord, Gion said. They have their headquarters on Sanctuary, the capital world. If we can get there and present this evidence, the Iron Circle will try to stop us, Doan said. They will do more than try, Yuna added. By now, Taiwu will have told them we have Sunho's files. They will use every resource they have. She was right. Reports came in over the next few days. The Terran Federation officially declared Doan a terrorist. The Kelvari Empire announced that Princess Yuna had been corrupted by human mind control. Both governments placed enormous bounties on their heads. We're the most wanted people in the galaxy, Hayami said with dark humor, but there was hope too. The partial broadcast from Nexus Prime, the information Gion had released before they fled, had spread across the galaxy. People were asking questions. Soldiers were refusing orders. On a dozen worlds, protests had begun demanding the truth about the war. They're scared, Doan realized. The Iron Circle is scared. They know their lies are falling apart, and we need to finish this, Yuna said. We need to reach Sanctuary and show everyone the complete truth. Hayami plotted a course. It would take them directly through heavily patrolled space. The chances of reaching Sanctuary alive were small, but they had come too far to stop now. As the Silver Ghost flew toward destiny, Doan looked at his companions. Gion checking her weapons. Hayami focused on her controls. Yuna sitting beside him, her hand finding his in the darkness. Whatever happens, he said quietly to her, I'm glad I crashed on that planet. Yuna smiled, her silver eyes bright. So am I. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped to hyperspace. Ahead lay Sanctuary, the Galactic Concord, the chance to change everything. Behind them, the Iron Circle gathered its forces for one final battle. The end was coming. One way or another, the war would finally be decided. Sanctuary was the most beautiful world Doan had ever seen. Blue oceans covered most of its surface, broken by green continents and white clouds. The Galactic Concord had built their headquarters here because it belonged to no one. It was neutral ground for all species. But as the Silver Ghost approached, Doan saw warships everywhere. Human ships. Kelvari ships. All of them waiting. The Iron Circle got here first, Gion said, her face grim. They've taken control of the Concord's security. Can we land? Yuna asked. Hayami studied her instruments. There's a small landing pad on the edge of the capital district, less guarded than the main port. If I fly fast enough, we might get through. Do it, Doan said. The Silver Ghost dove toward the planet. Immediately, 3 warships moved to intercept. Alarms screamed as weapons locked onto them. Hold on. Hayami shouted. She flew like nothing Doan had ever seen. The old ship twisted and spun through the air, dodging blasts that should have destroyed them. They punched through the atmosphere, heat burning around them, and raced toward the city below. They crashed more than landed, the Silver Ghost sliding across the landing pad in a shower of sparks. But they were down. They were alive. Everyone out, Doan ordered. Now, they ran into the city. The streets were crowded with people from dozens of species, all going about their normal lives, unaware of what was happening. Doan led the way, the data file secure in his pack. The assembly hall is 2 kilometers north, Gion said. That's where the Concord leaders meet. If we can reach it, you will reach nothing, a voice called out. Taiwu stepped out of an alley ahead of them. He was surrounded by soldiers, both human and Kelvari. His cold smile was wider than ever. Did you really think we wouldn't be waiting? He said, the Iron Circle has controlled the Concord for years. You have nowhere to run, cousin. I'm done running, Yuna said. She raised her hand and sent a wave of energy at Taiwu. He flew backward, crashing into his soldiers. Chaos erupted. People screamed and fled. Doan and his team ran. They fought through the streets, block by block. Gion took a wound to her leg but kept moving. Hayemi used a stolen energy pistol to cover their retreat. Yuna's new power grew stronger with each use, knocking back enemies who got too close. But Doan knew they could not fight forever. There were too many enemies, and not enough time. "I have an idea," Gion said as they sheltered behind a fountain. "The assembly hall has a broadcast system that reaches the entire galaxy. If I can hack into it, we can show everyone the evidence at once. How do we get you to the broadcast controls?" Doan asked. "You don't? I go alone through the maintenance tunnels. You three go through the front door and make noise. Draw their attention." "That's suicide," Hayemi said. "It's our only chance." Yuna touched Gion's hand, feeling her determination. "You are very brave." "I'm very angry," Gion corrected. "That's different." They split up. Gion disappeared into a service entrance. Do and Yuna and Hayemi approached the assembly hall from the main steps. The building was massive, with white columns and golden domes that glittered in the sunlight. Guards stood at every entrance. They saw the fugitives coming and raised their weapons. "This is it," Doan said. "Ready?" "Ready," Yuna replied. "Let's finish this," Hayemi added. They attacked. The battle that followed would become legend. 3 warriors against hundreds. They should have died in seconds. Instead, they fought like heroes from ancient stories. Doan moved through the enemy like a storm. His rifle sang death, and when it ran empty, he used his knife, his fists, anything within reach. 14 years of war had made him into a weapon. Now that weapon had a purpose. Yuna's power exploded fully at last. Waves of force threw soldiers through the air. Energy shields blocked blasts that would have killed her friends. The power she had never known she possessed now burned like a star inside her. Hayemi fought with the desperate strength of someone with nothing left to lose. She had buried her family. She had buried her dreams. Now she would see the truth revealed or die trying. They pushed into the assembly hall. Inside, leaders of the Galactic Concord sat in their chairs, surrounded by Iron Circle guards. Lord Taiwu stood at the center podium, addressing them. "The princess is dangerous," he was saying. "She has been corrupted by human terrorists. For the safety of both our peoples, she must be captured in Taiwu." Yuna shouted. Everyone turned. Taiwu's face twisted with rage when he saw them. "Kill them! Kill them now!" The guards charged. Doan stepped forward to meet them. He knew he could not win. There were too many. But every second he bought was a second for Gion. He fought until his body screamed with pain. He fought until blood ran down his face and his arms could barely lift his weapons. He fought until a blast caught him in the side and he fell to his knees. Yuna ran to him. "Doan, keep going," he gasped. "The evidence." Taiwu walked toward them, drawing an elegant sword. "Enough of this. I will end it myself." He raised the sword over Doan's head. Then every screen in the assembly hall flickered to life. Sunho's files played for all to see. Communications between Iron Circle members discussing how to start new battles. Bank records showing bribes to officials on both sides. Videos of secret meetings where humans and Kelvari laughed together about the stupid soldiers dying for their profits. The broadcast was going out to the entire galaxy. Every planet, every station, every ship. Taiwu's face went pale. No, this cannot." Yuna stepped forward. The Concord leaders stared at her. The entire galaxy watched through the screens. "My name is Yuna of House Kelvari," she said, her voice carrying through every speaker. "For 30 years, our peoples have been killing each other. I was raised to hate humans. I was taught they were monsters. But I learned the truth." She pointed at the screens, showing the evidence. The war was manufactured, extended, made worse. Not by humans, not by Kelvari, but by people on both sides who profited from our suffering. They are called the Iron Circle, and they have controlled everything. She looked at Doan, bleeding and broken, but still alive. She walked to him and took his hand, helping him stand. "This man was my enemy," she continued. "Everything I believed said I should hate him, but he saved my life. He fought beside me. He showed me that humans are not monsters. They are people, just like us. They love their families. They grieve for their dead. They want peace. Ohm stood beside her, supported by her strength. The war is a lie, Yuna said. The hatred is a lie. The only truth is that we have all been victims. Human and Kelvari alike. It is time for the lies to end. It is time for the war to end. Silence filled the hall. Then slowly, the Concord leaders began to speak. Arguments erupted. Demands for investigation. Calls for the Iron Circle's arrest. Taiwu tried to run. Hayami caught him at the door. She did not kill him, though she wanted to. You'll answer for what you've done, she said. Across the galaxy, the broadcast changed everything. On human worlds, soldiers laid down their weapons and refused to fight. On Calvari worlds, citizens flooded the streets, demanding peace. 30 years of lies crumbled in a single day. The war was over. 6 months later, Doan stood on a hill, overlooking a city that had once been a battlefield. Below, humans and Kelvari worked together to rebuild what war had destroyed. The sound of construction filled the air instead of weapons. Yuna walked up to stand beside him. She had renounced her claim to the throne. She said she could do more good as an ordinary person than as a princess. Now she worked as an ambassador for the new peace. Taiwu's trial begins tomorrow, she said. The Iron Circle leadership will face justice at last. Good Doan replied. Gin sends her regards. She's helping build the joint peacekeeping force. She says they need good soldiers if you're interested. Doan nodded. He had been promoted to captain but had refused any further honors. He did not fight for medals. They stood together watching the sunset paint the sky in colors of orange and gold. The scars of war were still visible on the land below. They would take years to heal, but they would heal. What happens now? Yuna asked. Doan took her hand. Her violet skin against his brown skin. Two peoples, once enemies. Now something else entirely. We live, he said. We help rebuild. We make sure this never happens again. Sounds like a lot of work. Good thing we have time. Yuna smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. The silver of her eyes caught the fading light of the sun below them. A human child and a Kelvari child played together in the ruins, laughing as they chased each other through the rubble. Their parents watched nearby, talking together like old friends. This was the future. This was what they had fought for. Duhan thought about the journey that had brought him here. A crashed ship. A ruined temple. An enemy who became an ally. An ally who became something more. He had started this story as a tired soldier who expected to die. He ended it as a man with hope. The galaxy had changed. It would keep changing. There would be challenges ahead, old hatreds to overcome, wounds to heal. But for the first time in 30 years, there was peace. And that was enough. That was everything.